are here for Ashley's Heart Song. This is the place where we get out of the stress and back into our body, our life, and our business. When we tap into the song of our heart, that is when we master the mind and the stress that can steal our life. Welcome to today's show. What a fabulous, fabulous day it is. We have a lovely guest joining us. But before we go there, before I introduce her, it is time for us to just check in so that we can get present. And if you have been following me for any length of time, you know that we do this little vitality score to see how you are in your mind, your emotional center, the spirit of you, the physical aspect of you, all that makes up you. We want to check in and just see where your vitality is today. All right, so we're pausing. You're going to take a breath. All right, check in mentally. Where are you today on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being you are on point, clear as a bell, and 1 foggy thinking and things are not looking good mentally for you today. So put yourself anywhere on that score sheet. Write down your score. Next, we're moving to your emotional self. Emotionally, how are you today? Do you feel emotionally balanced? Do you feel above the line with your emotions, which means that you're filled more with positivity? Or do you feel below the line, filled with negativity? And that is also on a scale of 1 to 10. So 10 is more of the positivity, enthusiasm, those kinds of emotions, or the negative emotions of fear, anxiety, worry, angst. Next, we're moving into our physical being. So physically, where are you today on a scale of 1 to 10? 1, you feel weak, fatigued, tired. 10, you feel incredible, or anywhere on that scale. You could be a 5 where it's right in the middle. Write down your number. Next is your spiritual self. Spiritually, where are you today? Are you connected? Did you take time this morning to pause, connect, get into alignment, and just fill up, fill yourself up? Did you take time to do that today? And do you feel that throughout your day up to this point? That would be a 10. If you don't feel filled up, if you don't feel connected, if you don't feel like you're your highest version of you spiritually, then you're going to score a little lower. Mark down your number. Add all those up. High score is a 40. And if you are between a 30 and a 40, great work. Keep working with it and notice what you scored low in. If you are below that, then look at all of those areas of your life and see which one needs your attention this week. Only work on one. Don't try to work on them all. Work on one and elevate it. Use the tools you learn at Ashley's Heart Song. And if you need to go and watch any replays, remember you can always watch them on YouTube. Ashley's Heart Song, just look it up on the YouTube channel and you will find me. You can watch any of the episodes from the past 3 seasons. All right, so now let's get rolling with our beautiful guest today. We have with us Sophie Shepherd. She is a functional health coach and founder of She Talks Health and the She Talks Health podcast. Through her Thriving Thyroid Method, she helps women who have tried everything to solve their health problems find a sustainable, easy path to feeling like themselves again. Her mission is to revolutionize the way women claim their health and slay old stories of being in sick bodies. Welcome, please welcome with me, Sophie Shepherd. Sophie, thank you for being with me today.
Of course, it's a pleasure. I really enjoyed the intro there. I added up my scores, so that was really cool.
Nice. What was your score? I'm curious.
It was a 31. And my main area I want to work on is physical, because I have hypermobility, so sometimes I get injured. I got injured on Friday, but I'm going right after this. I'm going to get it taken care of. I'm going to the chiropractor and I'm going to get a personal trainer to help me work out properly so I don't get injured.
Hey, oh, that's so beautiful. See, y'all, that is taking action. It's addressing what's happening Not putting it off, but addressing it and taking action with intention. That's beautiful, Sophie. I
Yes,
love that.
thanks for the reminder.
Bet. You bet. That's wonderful. So, Sophie, there was something that really caught my attention as I was reading that bio, and it's your mission of revolutionizing the way women claim their health and slay old stories of being in sick bodies. That sounds like you have a personal connection with that. Will you share with us your personal story around what led you to this mission?
Absolutely. It could be the whole podcast episode or show episode, so I will try to keep it brief. But my health issues started when I was really young. I was 16. I did tests that 60-year-old women are going to do, but I did them when I was 16 years old. I had endoscopies, colonoscopies, was poked and prodded, and they basically didn't find anything. They said, you have irritable bowel syndrome. This is just the way you are, or you just have anxiety. Take an antidepressant. Oh, your period pain is rough, just take birth control. So I was just a pill for an ill, really throwing spaghetti at the wall, hoping something would stick. And I was really young and I just followed the doctor's orders because that's what I thought I needed to do. But fast forward to age 22, I found myself in a situation with a person I was dating who was very emotionally and verbally abusive. And it really messed up my spirit. You talked about spirit before. It really shrunk me down and made me feel pretty much worthless. And in that time, all the emotional stuff started to come up for me, and I started to develop all of these even more symptoms than what I was experiencing. I was in the bathroom all day long. I was anxious. I was depressed. I was losing my hair. I had gained 35 pounds. I just could not catch a break, no matter what it was. And that's when I found functional medicine. And I had a doctor actually explain what was going on for me. And he explained how my gut was impacting my thyroid. I had been diagnosed with Hashimoto's, which I'm sure we'll talk about. And he really led me on a path to self-discovery and helped me really heal my gut, heal my brain, heal my thyroid. And I was told you're going to be on these medications forever. You're always going to feel this way. This is just your life. You're just depressed. There's nothing else I can do for you. To be told that and think that that's your life, to then have a complete revolution in your body, made me realize that we don't have to stick in these old stories and these old paradigms about our health.
Amen. We sure don't. We do not have to listen to all of that old story because there is a way for us to find ourselves free with that. I love that. What a beautiful awakening for you
Yeah.
to go from feeling in the muck of it to all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I'm set free. I'm
Yeah.
free. That's beautiful.
Totally free.
So let's just kind of um, go in and review what your experiences were, because I'm sure that people who are watching this, somebody tapped into one of those. So let's just kind of go through them. Let's talk about the thyroid first, because I think that's kind of the big umbrella. So tell about pretend we don't know anything about thyroid and talk to us like we are in elementary school. give us give us the you know, why it's important, what it does, and what was your experience for you personally.
Absolutely. So, yeah, for anyone who doesn't know what the word Hashimoto's is or hypothyroidism, it is a very common diagnosis. There's, I think, up to 20 million people in the United States alone who are dealing with some form of thyroid issue. And so you may not have a diagnosis yet, but hopefully this next part will help you identify if you need to get tested, like I did. So when someone is dealing with I'll explain what both of those mean, but first, this first symptom wise, both of them can present with hair loss. So, like kind of rapid hair loss. It's usually less patchy hair loss and more overall over the head hair loss. That was one of the biggest clues that sent me to the doctor because I was 22 at the time. So why was I losing my hair? Um, Constipation is really common. It can be other gut issues if you have gut infections like I did. So I had more like looser bowels, but constipation is really, really common. Depression. And then fatigue, like crippling fatigue. It's really, I think people don't really understand what the Hashimoto's fatigue feels like unless they've gone through it, but it's like every cell in your body is not working. I mean, I remember picking up a handbag and thinking, this is so much work. I would sleep for 8 to 12 hours and I would feel like I only got a half an hour nap. So really crushing fatigue. And then I think, yeah, cold temperature is another one. So like really cold extremities, not being able to regulate yourself, your body temperature being low. And then the weight gain. So I gained like 30, 35 pounds and I didn't change anything. There was no, so that's a really classic sign of looking for thyroid. If you haven't changed anything or you're eating well and you're exercising and all of a sudden you've gained 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds in a very short period of time, hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's is definitely something to test for. And then just real quick to differentiate between the two. Hashimoto's is an autoimmune disease. It causes 95% of hypothyroid cases in the United States. So if you have Hashimoto's, you almost certainly have hypothyroidism. However, you can have hypothyroidism, which is slow thyroid. So like the sluggish, all the symptoms I was just kind of talking about. It's basically the hormone that controls your entire metabolism. So that's why it's so broad in that, you could have weight issues and hair loss and gut issues because what happens when the thyroid slows down is your whole body slows down. So you can have hypothyroidism that's not caused by the autoimmune disease Hashimoto's, but it's pretty rare. In this country anyway, it's most commonly caused by Hashimoto's.
Wow.
Hmm.
So what leads to that for people? What is that? Where does it come from?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what the actual root causes are.
Yes.
After working with hundreds of women on it, and myself included, there is definitely an emotional component to Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism. The most common pattern, maybe this will also help you identify anyone listening. It's pretty common for it to be related to people pleasing, perfectionism, or otherwise being in a state where you cannot express yourself in some way. That could be you can't express yourself in your marriage, your work, your other relationships. Maybe you were raised to think, you should be seen and not heard. It can be so many different ways. And I shared, I was in this abusive situation and my voice really wasn't heard and it wasn't respected at the time. So I do think that that was part of what was going on. So that's the emotional side that I see. And on the physical body side of things, there's several things, but typically there is a combination of nutrient deficiencies, so not having the right minerals and vitamins to literally support the function of the gland. The thyroid needs a lot of nutrients, which we can talk about. And then the other part that I talk about all the time in my model is the toxic load. We live in toxic soup. We have mold, we have parasites, we have bacteria, we have environmental chemicals. All of those things impact the thyroid directly. Thyroid's very sensitive to those types of things. So when I'm looking at someone's root cause, I'm doing all those labs and investigating. And so I find it's usually a combination of those things.
Wow. Which no one is immune to.
Nope. We're all human.
Nobody's immune to it. Wow. Wow. So let's go into I mean, we could go anywhere. I guess first let's start with the emotion part of it. How people, it's interesting because when you mention those, I don't know if you've ever done emotional intelligence and the saboteurs. But the saboteurs, people pleaser, and perfectionist are two biggies that a lot of women test at. And so that's fascinating that the language that you used was right along with the saboteur language.
That's so
And
interesting. I'm gonna write that down to look that up.
ah, yeah, it and then of course not non-expression, not being able, being shut up. So what have you found for women who are in that place where they have these saboteurs? I'm just going to call them saboteurs that are stopping them because that's what they are. It's an emotional saboteur. How do you address that with them? I love to go there because this is my line of of yumminess. And what do you do?
I love it. I know. I know. Like I'm geeking out. The different language. It's so fun. Yeah, for me, so about 3 years ago, I kind of hit a wall with the kind of functional root cause physical body stuff where some people were getting all the way better, but some people weren't. And that's what really led me down this path of emotional work. So I got trained as a master coach in NLP, neuro linguistics programming. And within that training, which was a 2 year training, was very vigorous. There were several tools that were taught to us. So we were taught internal family systems or parts, which is kind of similar. It sounds like to saboteurs. We have like the firefighters and the saboteurs and all these different things inside of that. We have the inner child or inner children work. And then we also have timeline work, which is when you can go back in someone's timeline and help them rewire how they learn something so that they can kind of step it mentally and emotionally towards what they want and also release stuck emotions from their timeline, from their experience of life. Because if you think about it, we all learn these traits somewhere. You know, some people believe in generational trauma and passing that down, some people don't. But at some point in our lives, whether it's generational or past life or in the womb or since birth, somewhere in our timeline, we learned how to be a people pleaser. We learned what fear was. We learned what guilt was. We learned all these emotions, right? We're as
Yeah.
adults now. And so a lot of the work that I do is helping people to identify the mental blocks, the limiting beliefs that they're having, and where did they come from so that they can rewire those beliefs towards what they want, and release kind of any stuck energy. So sometimes it's a bit of somatic tools that we use. It really kind of depends on the person. And we also do a fair bit of nervous system regulation as well, just giving tools to help people to get into a place where they feel some safety in their body.
Yes. Love nervous system regulation.
And I think it gets, I do want to say, I feel like it gets like on Instagram and TikTok, there's like, oh, put your face in an ice bath or
Oh,
do this. And I'm like, okay, look, that is fine. And I would rather help someone with what's actually creating the dysregulation, which is their thoughts and the beliefs they have that are creating this anxiety or whatever it is for them.
amen. Amen. Yeah, make it more permanent versus, okay, here's a 30-second reprieve, you
Yeah,
know?
that's another band-aid to me.
Yeah. But then the next time that thought comes through your brain, here it comes again, here's the flood.
Exactly. And a lot of us, I mean, I think it's something like 90% of the thoughts you have today are the same exact thoughts you had the day before. And there's thousands and thousands of thoughts we're having, right? So if we want to see change, if we want to make different choices, we want to see a different life, then we have to change our thoughts and we have to be able to release the emotions from our physical body and also be with our emotions. Like we don't need to just suppress them. We need to be with them, understand them, talk to them, and release them.
Yes, resolve them for good.
Yes.
I love that much. Yes. All right. So tell us about, I'm going to come back to the physical things because I would really like to understand first that day when you realized that this was your mission. What happened on that day?
Yeah, so just as a backstory, I was in theater. I went to college to be a stage manager. I was working on and off Broadway at the time of my diagnoses, and when my life kind of collapsed around me physically and emotionally, I was in the midst of living in New York City, like doing musical theater. That was my life. And so after that, after my life collapsed, I had to make a decision and I wasn't really ready yet to go into like nutrition. My mom was like, "Well, why don't you go into nutrition? You love it so much. Why don't you just do that?" And I was like, "No, mom, like I can't do that. I can't go back to school. Like, I don't have any money. I don't know what to do." So I was actually working in events, which was a kind of an easy transition from theater. I was working in live events and I was at an event in Texas. I know you're from. And it was an event for farmers, for like conventional farmers who grow conventional foods. And the keynote speaker was a key lobbyist for Monsanto, which, if anyone doesn't know, Monsanto produces Roundup Ready, which is the like leading herbicide that is sprayed on non-organic crops in the country and they've been sued for millions and millions of dollars for causing cancer. And I knew this. And so I was having a really hard time that there was boxes of pesticides in front of all these farmers at their dinner table at this conference. And this guy was talking about how non-organic food, it's better for you and organic doesn't matter and you should just buy our product. And I was just, I mean, my head was exploding. I was like that emoji on the phone where your head's exploding and you're like, you have stuff coming out of your nose because you're like so angry. So that was it. I went up. I literally left the room. I didn't complete the job. I told my boss, I was like, I can't be in here. This is not, I don't stand for this. And I went up that night and I put my first certification on my credit card. I had no idea how I was going to pay for it, but I just knew I needed to be louder than the guy on the stage.
Wow. That is impactful. Yeah. I couldn't imagine sitting there in that audience. I am thinking that I would have reacted like you. I probably wouldn't have been able to breathe or to function because it was so near me. I
Yeah.
just, yeah, and the LIE that comes out around it.
Mm.
Yeah, that just, wow, that
Yeah.
would put you on a mission.
Yeah, I just couldn't. I mean, I was a talent, I was a talent wrangler. So he was, he's the talent, he's the speaker. So my whole job was to make sure he was comfortable and he was good. And like, I can't do this. This is such in conflict with my morals. And so that was, yeah, that was the first day. That was back in, I think, 2016. Yeah.
That's beautiful. All right. So tell us about the physical aspect. Let's go to the nutrient deficiencies, because
Hmm.
is this where we're going to talk about the mineral impact of?
Sure. Yeah.
That's where I wanted to go. I wanted to go on the mineral. I would love to know more about this mineral connection with thyroid.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I mentioned when we were kind of going through the physical aspects that there's the toxicity, of course, but then there's also nutrient deficiencies. And so the thyroid needs a lot. I mean, our whole body needs a lot. If you think of our body and our thyroid as a car, you wouldn't like just let your car go to empty, right? So it's the same thing for us. We can't function without the right fuel. You also wouldn't put the wrong fuel into your car, right? Because it would gunk it up and you'd probably end up in the shop spending hundreds of dollars and all your time fixing your car, right? So our bodies and specifically our thyroid need specific nutrients and in certain quantities and also in relationship to one another. So I hear this a lot. Oh yeah, I have low vitamin D. I have low iron. I'm taking iron. I'm taking vitamin D. I'm taking this multivitamin. And I'm like, again, the person with the head explosion emoji because you have no idea how those minerals are impacting one another. So we need to be testing ourselves to see what we're specifically low in and what are the cofactors, what are the buddies that go with these minerals to make it work properly, right? And so when I think about minerals and thyroid, I think about like energy production. So if you are that classic hypothyroid person, or even if you don't know if you have hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's, but you identified with the list of things I just went through, like listen up because this could help either way, is your cells need minerals to function, to turn, and to like literally create energy in the mitochondria. And so those nutrients, there's many of them but we need the right amounts of vitamin C, vitamin E, selenium, all of the B vitamins, magnesium, zinc, iodine. These are literally what create the function of the thyroid. And so without them, we are going to be depleted.
Mhm. Yes. Mm, I love that. The iodine, I feel like for me personally, that has made the biggest difference for me. Hmm.
Yay! Yeah, iodine can be a very powerful mineral for fatigue, for breast health, for ovarian health, so many things. What have you noticed with it?
Yeah, the energy part of it. I can always tell when I am not taking it as much because I stay really good with the other supplements that my functional med doctor had put me on. for, not meds, supplements that he had
Hmm.
put me on for a healthy thyroid. And so, I stay on those really well, but the iodine I'll tend to forget. And I can
Hmm.
always tell because I'll think, why am I feeling fatigued? Why am I feeling a little run down more than normal? And it's that. I can almost always connect it back to that. It's amazing.
Oh, that's really incredible. Most people who respond well to iodine say the same thing. And if you've ever run thyroid blood work, for anyone listening, if they've run T3 or T4, the T3 and T4, the 3 and the 4 is 3 molecules of iodine and 4 molecules of iodine. So literally to create thyroid hormone, you have to have iodine. It makes sense.
Yes, it does. It does. And the iodine that they add to the iodized salts.
Yeah, not the stuff we want.
Yeah.
Yeah, the iodized salt, table salt is pretty processed, so we want to avoid that form of iodine. The iodine we're talking about comes from seaweeds and seafood, and so if you don't like those things, you can supplement directly with either kelp capsules, or iodine, like Lugol's 2% iodine. But it's really important to test and not guess because too much iodine can cause really an awful experience with the thyroid, and it requires, like I said, buddies. Requires cofactors. You need selenium, sea salt, B2, B3, magnesium. You need a lot of cofactors to make that iodine move from the supplement into the body.
Yeah. It really truly is a science experiment. It's like you're in a chemistry lab and everything has to be, I mean, it works together and you got to watch because if you overload on one, that's probably not going to be a good outcome, right? So,
Exactly.
what Sophie is saying about testing, be sure you're testing and you're not just guessing, oh, I heard this on a podcast and let's just take this.
Yes.
It's
No,
like, no, no,
please
no.
don't.
The thyroid's a little more special than that.
Yeah, especially with iodine. Please don't just supplement with Lugol's without testing yourself properly.
Amen. Yes, 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 yes. All right. And then, Sophie, what have we missed as far as any of the physical aspects of this go? What was
Yeah, I think we covered, briefly the minerals. I could talk for 2 to 5 hours about all the minerals and how they all work. There's so much with this test. It's called an HTMA, hair tissue mineral analysis. It's really easy to do. It's a hair sample that you send in. It tests your hair for the minerals. It's a 3-month average, and from that, I'm able to create a custom mineral blend for the person, which takes into effect like what are their main symptoms, what are the main goals for their health, and I'm seeing pretty great results just from taking that one step. So much that even though I have a group program and I have a one-to-one program, if people are in a place where they just want to see if this would work, I'm offering it as a standalone because it's working so well. So that's like, I would say, like a really great play. I mean, there's so much to talk about in terms of physical, like nutrition and sleep and the right movement for us when we're in a depleted state and all the mindset stuff. I think the only other thing that I would say, I don't know if we have time to go through it really in depth, is just the toxic exposure and how to detox. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I think we do need to touch on that. Let's take time to do that
Okay.
because that's huge.
Yeah, so I mean, this goes for all of us. You don't have to have a diagnosis, but if you're not feeling your best, and say you have done, so the way I look at it is my program is a kind of two steps, the nourish step and then the release or the detox step. I don't ever start with detox because, like we've been talking about, most people are exhausted and they're brain fogged and their hair is falling out and maybe they have acne or they have constipation. These are all signs that the body's undernourished. So I always start with the nourishment of the mineral balancing and all those other, sleep and all those great things for us. But then if we're still not feeling better, my question goes, well, what is there an infection? Is there, like a gut infection, an overgrowth? Is there mold? And so that's when you might want to bring the big guns out, so to speak, and get the lab testing for parasites, bacterial and fungal. we might want to look at how are you digesting food? Are you even absorbing the food you're eating, or is there a leaky gut? And then also like, are there bigger, badder pathogens? I'll just give an example. I have a client right now who is trying to get pregnant. She's been trying to get pregnant for a long time. She found me through another podcast that I was on, and we decided to run something called the total toxin test, which looks at heavy metals, mold toxins, and environmental chemicals. So things like those pesticides we were just talking about, things like mercury, things like mold. And her total toxin was like the one of the longest I've seen. It was 2 pages long of toxins. And she wanted to know why she wasn't getting pregnant. And when we looked at that with the other test, I was like, well, your nutrients are depleted because they're fighting off all of these toxins. So we have to do both. We got to replenish your body, and we have to kick these toxins out of your body so that your body's in a good place to be optimized for pregnancy. So that's an example of like what, toxins and what we might want to do. And there's obviously a lot of detox strategies, but that's where we would start.
Yeah, and it's fascinating to me when it comes to the toxins that the general public and traditional medicine typically don't go in that direction first. They say, oh, you're just not able to get pregnant, or, you just have trouble. But I love how functional medicine takes that deeper dive into it and discovers what is that root cause that's going on.
Mhm.
And discovering, oh, I just have some heavy metals. Let's detox these and take care of the problem, take care of the issue. So I
Yeah,
find it very fascinating and always so reassuring that anything that we come across, we can always go back to the root and address it and release it.
I
And
think, I think so.
vibrant health is possible for everyone.
Mhm.
But Sophie, let's be real here for a minute. Is it easy?
I really like the phrase choose your hard. Is it harder to not do the things that help you feel better, or is it harder to feel bad every day? And so yeah, it's not like just existing necessarily, like just perfect and easily. There's for some of us, there's real changes that have to be made, and depending on how you respond to change, that could be hard. I, though, like to try to keep things as simple as I can, because I just had another client who unfortunately got kind of the opposite. She went through a functional medicine kind of runaround where they wasted her time and money, and she spent like $20,000, and they were giving her ozone treatments and all this different stuff. And no one talked to her about basic stuff like waking up with the sun and getting your sunlight and movement and eating enough. And so, I think we can also get to the place where we're like overdoing it with health stuff and biohacks and all these different cold plunges and all this different stuff. That stuff's great if you've already got the foundations down. So I think you can always come back to foundations and simplicity first. And then hopefully it won't be as hard.
Yes, hopefully not. Yeah, I have a 7-step process to help people get back into alignment, back into their body, and circadian rhythm, the rhythm, right? The rhythm of how you're sleeping, rhythm of your eating.
Mhm.
All of that just plays a huge role. And if we can just get on track with our circadian rhythm, that pretty much takes care of a lot of stuff that's going off in our health.
It really does. I mean, your sleep is everything.
Yep, sleep and the timing that you eat during the day.
Hmm.
When I work with clients, I say, not between 2 and 5. Don't eat between 2 and 5. You know,
Mm.
take that time off and bulk of your calories before, bulk of your energy calories before 2, small meal in the evening time, and you will get back, in rhythm. And it's amazing what happens with people's health and vitality when they do that one thing.
That is so good. I love it.
Yeah, it's just huge. So there are things that we can do as individuals easily at home, seek and find people like Sophie who can direct you and guide you so that you don't have to get to that point. where it's really painful, correct those things now, right, Sophie?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think most people do wait until it's quite critical. That's what I find. And I certainly get that because that's what I did. And it's really difficult when you're told, by your doctor, this is just as good as it gets. But hopefully the stories on this podcast today have like shared why that's not true and what's possible for you. I mean, I don't lose my hair. I'm at a weight that I'm comfortable at. I have sustained energy. My digestion's fantastic. There's the mood stuff. I'm off my antidepressant. I was on that for 10 years. 10 years on that. So there is so much possible for you.
That. Is there anything else you'd like to share? I know you spoke a little bit about the testing thing. Was there something else you wanted to share with the audience about ways that they can connect with you and what you would do with them? How you,
Sure. Yeah, I have a few options. I do have just the HTMA, which is the hair tissue mineral analysis of all the nutrients we were talking about. I have that as a one-off. I'm happy to send the link and we can put it in the show notes for people. You can purchase that directly. If you have questions about that or you want to have a longer consult and maybe talk about, deeper layers that I can support you with stuff, the other stuff we talked about, the mental, emotional, and the further lab testing and support with detoxification, you can also send that link, and that's a free call with me, kind of like a strategy call to see if it would make sense to work together. And we can talk about options there. I have a group program and a one-to-one program for women.
oh, that's wonderful. Sophie, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Is there any last thought that is coming in that you would like to share with everyone before we go?
Yeah, but for some reason, this one thought is coming through, which is like, what's the minimal viable step you can take. So if you're like, oh my gosh, like, I know that Ashley and Sophie are right. I got to work on my spiritual health, my emotional health, my like they scored at the top and they're like, oh, everything's at the bottom. What's the smallest step that you could make that will impact everything else? So for example, maybe it's going to bed 30 minutes earlier. Maybe going to bed 30 minutes earlier impacts your physical and your mental health, and it gives you more space in the morning to connect with spirit. So, what's the smallest little thing you could do that would have like a domino effect on the rest of it?
Amen. Oh, I love that. Start small, and then it's just going to go big on its own.
That's right. That's how we make effective habit change. Start small.
That's right. Oh, that's wonderful. Sophie, thank you so much for being with me today on Ashley's Heart Song. Thank
Thanks
you.
for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this episode with Sophie. Please look back and check back every Monday at 3 p.m. Central. We will drop a live show every Monday, and we look forward to seeing you soon.